welcome to another episode this week of Work the Left Side. I am happy to announce I am joined by Ruby, the basic bitch slayer. Anybody who gets the reference automatically gets cool points. Ruby, you good?
Yes, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Thanks for coming on, chatting to us. It
Yeah, no
seems to
problem.
be a while since I've ventured up north, so it's nice to represent again.
Yes, I'm happy to be here representing Scotland, and thank you for having me.
No, it's all good. Obviously, we'll go through the normal stuff soon, but yeah, obviously, Scotland wrestling, it's such a massive deal up there. You know, you guys have a habit of churning out, awesome wrestlers, awesome talent. What kind of got you into it? Was it something you liked as a kid? Is it something that you kind of thought, somebody else did, you saw being done, and you just thought, you know what, I can do that?
I loved wrestling as a kid. I have loads of brothers, and basically we just scrapped constantly. And it was all trying to suplex each other, trying to do moves, just like everything we saw in WWE. It was the Attitude Era, so like Stone Cold, try to stunner each other off the couch. To the point though where my mother actually banned us from wrestling and watching it or playing it. My PS2 games get taken away.
Wow.
I kind of suplexed my brother into the television and broke it. So that was the final straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And it was years and years and years later, I actually got taken to a local show. It was the first ever Fierce Female show in Glasgow. A few of my friends were going and they were like, oh, there's a show, do you want to come along? It's all women, like it'll be really cool. I was like, yeah, sure. Like I've never seen an all-female wrestling show before. That's amazing. So I went along and there was people like Viper and or Piper Niven now and Kaylee Ray, and I just was watching this like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And from then on, I got the bug where I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And it sort of rekindled that thing when I saw China when I was younger. And I was like, oh my God, she's this big, powerful woman. I want to be this big, powerful woman too. And then I got back into it and found out that there was a wrestling school in Glasgow and went along and that was the beginning of it.
The rest is history. But yeah, obviously you've named two of the biggest sort of female exports. Obviously, I think comes Kelly Ray. Yeah, Piper's back to being Piper again. Now I haven't watched WWE for a while, but I know obviously they kind of changed the name, but I think they realised the mistake, changed it back.
Yes.
Kaylee Ray is a little random nod for me. I designed one of her t-shirts about 10 years ago.
Oh, that's really cool.
She had the KLR in the ICW style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. I designed that. I did that.
Nice.
That's a little random bit of information for you. So yeah, obviously you got a school near you. It's just a town like Glasgow. I presume there would have been, a couple of choices. You get in there. Was it kind of because the thing what I found from talking with people is there's different degrees of schools kind of thing. Some can be sort of like very basic, but still very, very good at what they do, or they can be singing or dancing, and just look really snazzy. Did you hit the ground running? Was it sort of down and dirty straight away, or was it just a case of, did you take you kind of feel was there any doubts?
So the first school that I went to was Source Wrestling School, which actually recently just closed, which was really sad because it trained some of the best talent that's come out of Scotland. Like Piper Niven, she trained at Source, and she's now on one of the biggest platforms in the world. And several names came out of that school. But when I went, it was a lock-up in Govan, just off of where Ibrox Stadium is. And it was a wrestling ring and a wee lock-up with a wee toilet at the side. But it was amazing. I went along for my first session and I was, oh my God, the cardio required. I was exhausted. My legs wouldn't work for about 3 days after my first session.
Wow.
I actually only attended that school for about 3 months. I had sustained an injury at my work that actually put me out completely for quite a few years. I dislocated my arm and like ripped my rotator cuff. I had to have surgery on it, and it was a bit of a nightmare. So it completely put me out for a while. But it was the place that sort of gave me my very first taste of wrestling and actually getting to do it in a proper structured way and getting to learn from people who really knew what they were talking about. And it was brilliant because the first time I went along, everyone was so nice and everybody was like, "Oh, this is like what to expect," and like it is full contact, but like we're going to show you how to do things safely, blah blah blah. It was just a really sort of welcoming environment. It really gave me like a good sort of start in my sort of learning experience. It wasn't until years later and a whole load of drama and disability later that I actually started at Respect Pro Wrestling in 2018.
Right. And was that just like, did that just come about? Was that after, like you sort of said, you the injury, the surgery and stuff like that? You came back into it. Was you just looking around? Was you looking at different schools just to try and get different sort of techniques or styles or things like that? Or was it just a case of that was, had to go to that one?
It was actually came about completely randomly. I at that point had actually completely given up on the thought of being able to be a wrestler. I developed after my injury with my shoulder. I developed a condition called fibromyalgia, which is like a chronic pain condition. So it's essentially like a pain condition that affects every part of your body all the time. So I had actually after that injury gotten to the point where I was using a walking stick and I was about 19 stone. And it was my cousin Bobby Roberts had actually contacted me and said that he was starting his own wrestling school and that he knew that I had tried pretty much everything I could think of to get myself back mobile and not needing a walking stick, and nothing was really working. And he was like, "I know this is a crazy idea, but what if you used wrestling to rehabilitate yourself?" He's like, "You might never get full function." He's like, "I can't promise you anything, but what if we give it a try?" He's like, I'm a trained PT. He's like, "I can try and make this work for you and we'll just see what happens." And I was like, "Okay, I've tried everything else and I love wrestling, so cool. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, let's give it a try." I was like, I'm going to be in pain anyway, so like, why not? And it was one of those things I never expected to actually be able to do shows or do any of the things that I'm doing now. When I made that decision, I just wanted to try and sort of have fun and start moving a bit more. And it sort of just got to a point where things started improving a bit, and then I didn't need my walking stick as much, and then suddenly I didn't really need it at all. And then I was being able to do matches and training, so it was like, well, maybe I could do this, and just kept pushing. And so far I've just kind of kept pushing and seeing how far I can go with it. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I kind of want to just do this every day of my life.
That's amazing. That is genuinely like a sort of like a massive, well done, feel good accomplishment kind of thing. Because that is, it kind of goes to show the other side of it as well. Yeah, because obviously, everybody loves wrestling, everybody loves this, that, and the other. But it's like it's the cardio side, it's the exercise, it's the getting yourself mobile, probably being the flexibility and stuff like that. And I've got to guess that obviously the adrenaline helps.
Oh God,
When you
yes.
got to that point when you're doing shows and you got the audience popping, the adrenaline's flowing. I'm guessing that's probably at the peak of the best pain relief possible.
Yes, it's not until about an hour or two after the match where I'm suddenly like, oh, right, I can feel this. Oh, and I can feel that. Oh, and that's really sore. Right, this is cool. Nothing's broken. It's just all really sore. It's fine.
Tell me, obviously, I'm a massive. I popped huge for obviously the name, the sort of the gimmick kind of thing. What inspired? What made you think? You know what? I can use that, and I can use it to, just do what I do, kind of thing.
So I have been an enormous fan of Buffy since it was first on the TV. I remember I think I was 7 years old, and my parents were like, "Oh, there's this thing. Do you want to watch it?" I was like, "Yes." That sounds cool. I love vampires. Yes. So watched it, became instantly obsessed, and I was like that kid every single week, just sitting watching it on like originally BBC Two and then Sky. And it wasn't even just like a little bit of an obsession. Like I was fully like invested in that show, like to the point where my mum watched Mastermind, and there was a contestant came on and her speciality was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So my mum was like, oh, do you want to come watch this with me and see if you know the answers? And I think I was about 12 years old, and I knew more than the person who went on the show.
That's yeah. I mean, I had a bad card for the. I've got loads of like the script books and stuff. You know, they all came out. Queuing up, well, not queuing up, but going to WH Smith's on the morning when the VHSs came out. So I had to go like really old school. But yeah, and it used to be they released half a series at a time, so you got 3 videos for like 35 quid.
Yeah.
And you look back, I spent 70 quid on one series on 6 videos.
See, when I upgraded to the DVDs and I bought all 7 seasons in one go, I was like, I wasted so much money. But I got to watch them so many times. So I'm like, no, it was an investment. It was an investment.
That's it.
It was Forbidden Planet up here. It was we had a Forbidden Planet in Glasgow, and it was always the place to go and get them.
Yeah, so we had a space, but we got Forbidden Planet in Leeds. I've actually got an Angel Smiley Time puppet from there.
Nice.
But the debossing bridge, so we know where the Buffy bit came from. So the basic part of it was obviously like kind of a Scottish thing, or because I think of basic. That's more of a recent thing for me. I don't know if you ever watched it, but A Good Place.
Yeah.
With and Kristen Bell. And I'm generally insulting that is, you basic? So that's the only time I've ever really heard that as an insult.
Yeah. So it came out of a conversation with a friend who was training at the time, and they had never seen Buffy. And I was like, you need to watch, like, we can't be friends unless you've seen this show. Like, it's 95% of my personality. Like, I don't think you understand how important this is. Like, this is important. So as they were watching it, they were sort of messaging me and stuff with like thoughts and episodes and like all their shocked reactions, which was actually really nice for me as well, because I've seen the show so many times at this point that I know every single bit of every bit that's happening. So to get to to get to sort of secondhand experience it for the first time again was so nice. But they were like, we were having this conversation and we were talking about the PS2 game and like, no, not the PS2 game, sorry, the Xbox game. And I can't even remember the exact way it came about, but during the process of this conversation, we were making jokes about gimmick ideas and stuff. And I had said that I really wanted to try and incorporate Buffy somehow. And they had made the joke, you'd be the basic bitch slayer because everyone's basic compared to you. And I was like, oh my God, why did I not think of this? I was like, that's like, yeah. I was like, that's the thing. That's how I'm doing it. That's it. And out of that, I sat down and I really thought about like what would be basic to Ruby Roberts? Like what would I consider basic? Where would I come from? Like, because obviously with like the internet sort of version of basic, or the sort of more recent, more common known version of it is like the sort of white women Instagram idea. Like everybody like loves like wee tiny pumpkins, and you're always getting like Starbucks coffee and that kind of thing. And when I really thought about it and the sort of statement, everyone's basic compared to you, I really sort of thought, well, Ruby Roberts has a massive ego and thinks that she can batter pretty much everybody, so everyone is basic compared to her. And that's sort of how that came about.
That's awesome. But yeah, somebody I know a couple of years ago, same sort of they watched it for the first time ever kind of thing, and I was living vicariously through them rewatching it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And every day she's been like, oh, I'm like, yes, you're just getting that adrenaline pumping again through them watching it. It's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Obviously, so you've got the name, merch must be a piece of piss. In fairness, you must have 101 merch ideas just based on like the whole Slayer thing.
Yeah, I have more ideas than I have money right now. So like, we're working on it. I currently have a T-shirt out that you can purchase. There's information on my Twitter about it. that are actually handmade by me, and it's the t-shirt that I wear out. It's got my Buffy inspired logo on it. It's basically like bleached tie-dye. I designed them with a friend of mine who helped me sort of get the logo together and come up with the idea for the sort of bleach dye on it. And yeah, so if you order them, it's handmade by the wrestler. But yeah, there's so much inspiration to be able to be taken from the show. There's like so many different avenues you can go down, and because there's 7 seasons and there's so much good writing in it, there's just like a plethora of things that I constantly want to do. It doesn't help that I have ADHD as well, so I'm like, oh, this and this and this and this and this, oh, and this and this and this and this and this, and then I forget to write them down, and then they reoccur to me like 4 months later, and I'm like, oh, I need to do the thing.
I will go on record on tape when this episode drops, and I will make a promise. I don't like anybody who watches this or anybody who follows me on social medias knows I draw occasionally. So I will do a Ruby Slayer themed piece of artwork. Future reference, just to run it by you if you like it. Awesome. But you've got the basic Slayer thing. So you sort of said you got back into the wrestling factor, health, mobility, and stuff like that. How long then was it kind of like, was you doing it for a few months and then you've kind of realised, hang on a minute, this is going somewhere?
So it was a very up and down sort of experience. I always used to make the joke that everyone else starts off in wrestling, or for the most part, starts off at like 0 and goes up the way. I felt like because of what had happened, I was starting off at like -10. So I was like having to build up from like so much worse of a position than I originally started in. There was a period of about 6 months where I could only train once a week. And when I would train that once a week, it would be almost an entire week again before I was like able to move enough to train again. So it was almost like I was spending the entire week absolutely wiped out just to be able to go and train again the next week. And that was like the first 6 months. After about the first 6 months, I sort of managed up one more day, and I was still like wrecked all the time. Like my legs were sore constantly and just everything was but it was progress, and sort of I kind of just kept hanging on to this idea of, well, it's getting there. It was the point where I think I'd been doing it for about 2 years, and I finally made my debut, that I was like, I might actually be able to do this a bit. Like, why not? Like, I just did that, and like, yeah, I'm sore, but I didn't die. So let's try. And then immediately after that, COVID happened. So everything shut. I couldn't train properly. I couldn't train with other people. I could only do like individual drills and my own exercise sort of thing. And it was after COVID, I just lost an enormous amount of weight. During the COVID period, I just really focused on like diet and exercise and trying to really get myself in shape, because I was like, right, when everything opens up again, I want to like hit the ground running. I want to like go at this. I got new gear design. Well, I designed new gear, got it made, and I was like, right, I'm doing this. We're doing this properly. I made myself handmade gear as well in between, which was horrendous. It was like a massive Buffy nod, but it just looked so bad. It was like a pair of burgundy red leather look trousers that were meant to be like her season 2 promo shots, and then like a black vest. It was meant to be like a total rip off of the season 2 promo shots, with my logo like bleached into it. And I mean, it worked for like the first wee while, but it was it was so homemade. But yeah, like after that, I just sort of really went at it. I was like, right, we've lost the weight. We're down at like 6 stone. We'll just go for it. And after I started booking a few shows and started like working a bit more, I was like, oh right, I could do this. I could do this every weekend. Like, I can do this. I might be sore, but I can do it. And that was the kind of point. It was like after COVID and after everything started sort of getting back into normality and being able to do shows in front of crowds again, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm doing this. And then quite quickly after that, I booked my first international gig, which was a huge deal. I got to do the first ever women's hardcore match in Denmark.
Oh wow!
It was a massive deal. And at that point, I was like, no, I'm doing this. Like, I'm dedicating as much of everything as I can to doing this. I've only got a wee while to do it because I'm 31. So like, I'm pushing age, but I'm like, no, running at it. This is it. We're doing it.
So not only do you feel so like, you know, after a normal match, you then go and fly for X amount of hours, do a hardcore match.
Yes.
You know, that's like, well, if I'm going to be sore, I'm going to be sore anyway. You might as well, that kind of mindset. It's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, because like, not like, I think sometimes people, because I am very functioning now, I don't need my walking stick. So sometimes when I say to people about it, I think it's a wee bit of a, I can't say the word that I was going to say. It's a bit confusing sometimes for people when I say that I'm in like quite a lot of pain all the time, but then I'm walking about and I'm doing these things, I'm jumping off top ropes and doing stuff. But it is something that sort of impacts the way that I have to make wrestling work for me. Like, I have to train slightly differently. I have to take slightly more rest time. I have to sort of make it work round my disability rather than trying to make myself work the way everybody else works. And that's sort of how I've managed to develop it to the point where it is sort of like make it work for me rather than the other way around.
Working
Yeah,
hard, but
sorry.
you work as well.
I'm so sorry, the audio cut out there.
Working hard, but you're working smart as well.
Yeah, my cousin used to say that to me all the time. He's like, don't work hard, work smart. And I try to do that for everything. I want to do this
Sounds
for
like
a long time.
yeah, it sounds like you're working hard, but you're working smart with it. So it's like it's the perfect combination.
Yeah. And I was really, really lucky because the opportunity had sort of come around. The school that I was attending, Respect, had actually closed. I started attending a new school called the LKS Dojo of Excellence, which is run by Luke King Sharp. And he had sort of introduced me to this company, Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, who really took a chance and gave me this opportunity to go and do that match. And it was a real sort of a relationship that ended up developing, and I now regularly go out and wrestle for them. And it's something I'm so thankful for, because like, without that first opportunity, I wouldn't have then sort of developed the other relationships that I have, and then the other companies that have now come out of that.
It's all networking, isn't it? It's all promotion, getting yourself out there, getting eyes on you kind of thing. And obviously, yeah, but you know, that's part of it. But you still got to go over there. You still got, you know, you've got to do what you do to such a level. You know, like these guys, you know, pay and you know, bring you back again, or you know, somebody else sees it and they want you as well, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back of my brain, I'm sure I might get this totally wrong, but we had the big strong man on a few months ago. I'm sure he said he went off to Denmark. I'm sure he's wrestled over there as well, kind of thing. So
Yes, he was over there with me.
that's it. Yes, I was right. So yeah, obviously, yeah, you know, Ewan, very cool guy. Thoroughly enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah.
So it's like they knew what they wanted. There was like a target, sort of few people. Obviously, they knew what to look at, and yeah, they pull you over.
Yeah, so they have a working relationship with the LKS dojo. Quite a few of our students have now been over. It's been a really good working relationship. They've also come over and run shows in Scotland. So they're one of the first promotions to sort of have that back and forth relationship. We're now running shows in 2 countries, across, I think, with Denmark and Scotland. And yeah, like, it's they've got like a really specific idea of what kind of product they want, what kind of story they want, and how they want to go with it. But they're also really, really good at like working with you and like listening to your ideas and like being really flexible with like incorporating what you do and what your character does into their stories and how it's playing out. It's a really good company to work with. I'm really hoping that I get to do it for quite a long time.
That's awesome. I imagine the difference in the audience. I've never witnessed wrestling in Denmark. I can kind of imagine the audience as being a little bit more chilled than the Scottish audience. So I can imagine it being a bit of a cool both ways. Or are they just as bad as you guys? Because I mean,
oh yeah, yeah, they are so into it. Like they are involved, and like they will give heat like no man's business. It's like being in Scotland. Honestly, it's brilliant. I love it. It's weird because it's like home away from home, because it's so similar. But yeah, like it reminds me of like crowds in Scotland, like maybe like 10 years ago at like indie shows. It's a very, very similar vibe. I absolutely love it. It's like I keep saying, it's like a home away from home. I absolutely love the crowd over there and the vibe, and it's just I've never had a bad experience yet. It's been great. It's been great. I keep tripping over my tongue, sorry.
But yeah, I totally wouldn't have seen that kind of thing. I kind of imagine, because like I said, the Scottish audience, the Scottish crowd, like you guys, just like when like wrestling's on, it's next level kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have pictured it as much over there, but I suppose, yeah, Norse history and stuff, you know, they can get pretty rowdy. So it's that's pretty cool. I'll have to check out some of the stuff actually when they come over, and vice versa. So I'll look on YouTube for some videos if there's any on there.
Yeah.
I'll probably to get more eyes on, you know, get people watching it, because it's
I
always
think
good to.
they are starting to release episodes, so there's going to be episodes of CCW with matches from the shows, with like cinematic bits. I'm tripping over my words again, but yeah, it's their first one's going to be out soon, and then there's going to be like episodic content coming from now on.
Oh, sweet. Well, I'll keep my eyes on the Twitter then. Obviously, I'm sure you'll be plugging it.
I'll be sharing it, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So I'll be treating, and I'll get watching as well, because any more wrestling is always good to watch. So obviously, you said you was a wrestling fan back in the day. What you're watching? Are you still watch it, even though that you're doing it now, or are you able to watch wrestling as a fan anymore, or do you kind of sit there and critique it? Can you switch off?
So yes and no to all of it. So when I was younger, I was like obsessed with Attitude Era, but then I didn't really get everything after that. It wasn't until I started training again properly that I sort of got sat down and they were like, right, you need to watch wrestling. Like you can't do it without watching it. Like homework. I'm like, okay, cool. So I started watching some WWE, and then I started taking recommendations from everyone. So I've been watching like Lucha Underground and like New Japan and some bits and pieces from all over the place. And I'm still very much on my sort of wrestling history knowledge journey. I have people who will watch my wrestling stuff with me, and they will literally be like, so this is who this is. This is what they've done. This is where they've been. This is the other companies they've worked for. And I'm so grateful for that, because it's so much information and there's so much to consume across so many different countries, and there's so many different styles. And I want to try and learn as much as I can in as much time as I can, sort of thing, because I really want to make sure that I'm as knowledgeable as I can be about what I'm doing. That it's like, yeah, no, I need you guys to help me study, like help me consume this. um I watch it as a fan, but there's just no turning my brain off. Like there just isn't. I get to enjoy it, and I really get to enjoy. For me, it's more about the moments. See the bits of acting, the bits of in between, the bits of the psychology behind everything, rather than the moves. Like the moves, I'll sit and study all day long, but it's all of the nuance and all the storytelling that I really tune into, and that's the bit that I get to enjoy as a fan, and the bit that, yeah, I'm still analysing it so that I can improve what I'm doing, but that's the bit that really grips me and still makes me pay attention and makes me really want to care about what's happening.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, because a lot of people that I talk to, it always comes down to the same sort of thing where, you know, 5-star matches are great. You can watch them over and over again, but it's the moments you remember. It's the bits of the story that go into this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I think there's room for everything in wrestling. It's always said that it should be like a circus. You know, if you don't like this, then you're like this. If you don't like this, then you're like this.
Yeah.
Everything. So what is it? What you kind of gravitating towards at the minute? You know, is there anybody out there at the minute that you're thinking, I like what they're doing, I might take a little bit of that or take a little bit of this?
See, there's so much. I am a nightmare because I see so many different things, and my brain doesn't go, well, my body can't do that. It goes, I want to try that. I want to try that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. I'm also going to try that. Oh, there's something with an E. I'm going to try that. Oh, there's a spinny thing. I'm going to try that. So like, it's just constant. I've recently been watching some old WCW, and I've been sort of trying to go into the archives bit of the network and sort of go into all the older stuff. And I'm really loving, like, see all the really old traditional, like, hold for hold wrestling, like proper, like, long matches where there's like hardly any actual moves. It's all like just hold for hold, and what can you grab, and how can you transition this, how could you outsmart the other guy. And yeah, so just now I'm just really into that.
Kind of a little bit of a sidebar, but there's something else that we do on here is me and another guy, we're going through 97 wrestling in 97, WWE and WCW pay-per-views. And
Yeah.
like we're watching each one a month kind of thing. And I was never a WCW guy back in the day kind of thing. I was always WWE.
Yeah.
I went back and watched it over recently. But yes, when you go back and you watch like the old school Eddie Guerrero's, Dean Malenko's, the cruiserweight division in old school WCW, I would highly recommend, just checking out, because it's just technically next level.
I've only recently dipped my toe into it, and I'm really enjoying the bits and pieces that I'm seeing and who I'm seeing. I'm not gonna lie, I keep trying to watch it at bedtime, falling asleep, and having to like rewatch the bits that I've just watched. But yeah, it's sorry, 2 seconds. My phone's trying to die. If you just bear with me 1 second. So sorry, I thought I plugged that in beforehand. There we go. Sorry. But yeah, I'm fully planning on just binging a lot and trying to take down as many notes as I can.
That's the problem, though. There is that much wrestling out there, even just on the network. You've got access to thousands of hours. Never
And that's
mind,
not even including YouTube and everything else and Fight TV and.
That's it. And then you've got local promotions. You've got stuff that's going on now. Obviously, are you, besides Denmark, are you looking to venture down south? Or are you kind of comfortable where you are at the minute, or are you looking to sort of come down here at some point?
Oh, I want to work everywhere. I am currently sending CVs out pretty much everywhere. I want to just get as much experience in as many places as I can. So I have wrestled in Newcastle once. I am planning hopefully to come back down soon, and I am trying to basically get as much work anywhere. I'm really trying to get some work down in Manchester. The scene down there, I'm like really enjoying seeing what they're really doing just now. And I recently got to wrestle Lana Austin. I would really like to repeat that. So yeah, like hopefully I'm going to start venturing down England way. Hopefully people start hearing my name and wanting to hire me. That'd be great.
Newcastle is awesome. I know there's a lot of guys it's like a second home for a lot of guys in Scotland. Talent. A lot of people on in Newcastle North. They've got a shed load of good promotions. To be fair, it's not just North. There's loads out there. And then like I say, Manchester, Liverpool as well is quite a thriving scene at the minute. So obviously you just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm sure it's going to be within the next 12 months. You'll notice that your radius of bookings is expanding.
Hopefully, that is the plan.
Right, I'm going to get another little sidebar. It's not just a Buffy thing that we've talked about. I've got to bring up the whole View Askew thing, because I know recently you watched, we talked about that kind of thing.
Yes.
But like obviously your main three things that I've noticed or that we talk about is like obviously Buffy, wrestling, and then the View Askew universe. I've got a feeling probably 90% of the audience, or 90% of people I know who will be watching this, also appreciate a bit of Jay and Bob.
Yes.
So, how do you? It's really obscure. I know a select few people, like a small circle of people who know of that. What was your first experience into that? What was the first film that you watched? I'm just curious. Channel
4 showed Dogma once. When I was like probably far too young to watch it. It was, I snuck up to my mum's room. She had a TV in her room. I just turned it down like really, really low, and just like I hid in her room and watched Dogma. And I sat and watched this absolute bizarre film and was just like, this is the best thing ever. This is amazing. Like, I remember as well the Buddy Christ meme, like the original meme, the Buddy Christ meme. Like, I remember getting that in AOL and an email. Like, and yeah, just I remember watching that film and seeing Alanis Morissette and like just Jane Silent Bob and all of it and just being like, oh, this is amazing. Then after that, I found out that Shannon Doherty was in Mallrats, and I was also massively obsessed with Charmed, not to the same degree, but like hugely obsessed with Charmed as well, and Xena, like pretty much just strong women. I was like, yes. Um, but yeah, so I found out she was in Mallrats, so I watched that, and then it sort of just progressed from there. And then someone showed me Clerks, and I was like, "This right? Okay, I'm now obsessed. I have to watch all of these." And progressively, just made my way through watching all of them. I think the only one that I haven't seen is Tusk.
Right, it's a messed up.
Pretty sure that's the only one I've not seen.
I recommend it. It is a very, very messed up, un-Kevin Smithy type film.
Yeah, I've heard it's like unhinged, and I'm like intrigued. I just haven't found something like a platform to watch it on yet. I'm gonna need to
Yeah,
double check Prime.
it drops on and off of Prime every now and again. They'll have it on for a few weeks and then be
Yeah.
like, well, and then take it off again. And it's like, no, just in long quality in it as well. But obviously, you got Jersey Girl, you got Red State.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the people that actually enjoys Jersey Girl. I think it's a very good film.
You know, I actually didn't. I didn't pure love it as much as the rest of them, but I don't think it deserves the amount of hate that it got. I haven't rewatched it a huge amount. I think I've seen it twice, but like, it wasn't bad. Like
I think Ben Flex or George Carlin's great in it.
Mm.
It just, as a dad, it just makes me want to be a better dad. You know, I look at that
Yeah.
film and just like, that's awesome. So yeah, so I kind of sidebarred into the whole sort of thing, but I'm still going to hang on it for a second. Best Kevin Smith film.
Okay, so I always feel like Clerks, because it was the first one and because it's in black and white, because it is what it is and it sets the tone for the rest of them. After that, I think it would be Dogma for me. Like,
Ooh.
it's those two are like, because it was the first one I saw and it was just so off the wall nuts. Like, it was just so mental. I feel like it was the perfect one to introduce me to Kevin Smith because it was just so what?
Chasing Amy, just for my references, I think Chasing Amy is his best film. Just it's got the best the first 10 minutes of that film is the best 10 minutes in any film ever.
Yeah.
From the first 10 minutes, and I think Mallrats is probably my most watched. I'm just a massive comic book geek, so those two films to me massively because of the comic book aspect. So anybody who's watching who has no idea what we're on about, give your head a shake, go out and watch every Kevin Smith film possible and enjoy. And obviously, Chris Jericho kind of ties back into wrestling in a little bit. I'll do my most kind of pull it back and say Chris Jericho in the Jane Bob reboot. You know, Jane Bob were on the debut episode of Dynamite as well.
Yeah, like I didn't. Someone recently told me that, and I was like, "What? How did I not know this?" And I went to see the reboot in the cinema. There was only one cinema in Scotland showing it, and I got tickets and I went to the showing because it was only for like one day, so I went along to it. It was the showing that had like the pre-recorded Q&A that they did, and it was like bonus content. And I went along and I'm sitting there and I'm quite happy. And I hadn't looked anything up. I deliberately ignored everything about the film online. So when I sat down and we're watching it, and then Jericho comes on, and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's Jericho!" What? I was freaking out in the cinema. People were looking at me, and I'm pure like, "I don't care. That's Chris Jericho. Do you not know who that is? Like, what? Why are you not all freaking out more than you like? Be more excited."
I say it was just like I popped huge, and then it turns out he was, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan. I was just like, total heel Jericho.
Yep.
But well, I'll pull it back into wrestling. Apologies, I just had to get that off. I just wanted somebody else to talk to about Kevin Smith. It's very rare that there's a few people I get to talk to about it. So I thought
it's always good when you find another View Askew fan.
Exactly. Yeah, when you do, you've got to pick the brain. It's always nice to get other people's thoughts on it. So right, back to the wrestling. Belts, titles, going forward? You know, more hardcore matches. What's the plan for the next 12 months? I know obviously we talked about expanding Aegis, but where you are now, what's the goal?
So currently I am aiming for everything and anything that I can. Titles, yeah, I'll keep. I've recently had a title shot for the W3L women's title. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but like close. So gonna keep going for that. Gonna keep trying for the Pro 2 title as well, which is Pro 2 Wrestling. And pretty much anyone wants to give me a chance to try and fight for the belt, I'll do it. And the plan for the next 12 months is basically I want to try and focus on, again, like, expanding the sort of territories that I'm getting into, try and get as many different companies and many shows as possible, and just try and work as much as possible just now. And essentially just show as many people what I can do as possible, and hope that they like it, and then get to do more.
Nice. Obviously, you mentioned at the start kind of thing where the bitch slayer character, I kind of got the gist of it, very ego driven. You know, she feels like she can kick anybody's arse. So are you primarily working as a heel, or are you just kind of a face that's just got a load of confidence?
So it's very 50-50 split at the moment. So when the way I sort of look at it is, at the core of Ruby Roberts, she's the same person. It's just the motivation that's changing as to why she's doing what she's doing. So yeah, like very, when I'm a heel, I'm just, we used to joke that I was the angry scheme ma version of myself. So like angry scheme mum. And it's basically just very shouty, very angry, and a lot of holds and a lot of ground and pound, like mum style battering. And then face as a bit more happy scheme ma. But essentially a bit more jumpy, a bit more happy, but the same person. It's just, I like heavy metal music. I'm a massive Buffy fan. I think I'm fantastic. I think I can fight everybody. Not a lot of this is character. A huge amount of it's just me. Yeah, just one version's happy, smiley, and still batters people, and the other one's a bit grumpy and shouty and batters people.
Well, they all sort of say the best characters or the best personas are very much based on truth, but it's just turned up to 11.
Yeah, that was actually the sort of original advice that I was given, was be you, but turn right up. Like the just be you but bigger. And I kept sort of struggling with that idea for a while. I didn't really, it sounds silly, but like for me, I was like really overthinking the problem. I think it's the ADHD, but I was really overthinking the problem and really over trying to analyze who am I, and how do I human, and how does that look to other people, and how do I do that on purpose? And all I really needed to do was really just go, what do I like? What do other people like that I like? That's something I really like. Oh, that'll work, kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like I said earlier, Buffy's like 90% of my personality. It's a ridiculous amount of the media that I consumed as a child. So, and it was like Buffy and Angel, and then like the comics, and then the wee mini series, and it was everything. So when I really sort of sat down and thought about it, I was like, well, I love Buffy, and that's a huge amount of who I am, to the point where the vernaculars, like sometimes I'll say words from the show and people kind of look at me and I'm like, so that was sort of the thing that put me down that path, because I was really like, what did I really enjoy growing up? What were the things that made me care about stuff? Like what media made me happy, sad? And the answer to all of it was Buffy, because that was the show that it made me cry. It made me like fall in love with the characters. I am still to this day obsessed with Spike. I met the man and I nearly wet my pants when I met him. It was a whole thing, because I met him twice. And the first time was when I was like heavier and I had my walking stick and I had no confidence. So I walked up and just kind of went, hey. And he sort of like really quickly gave me the picture and then was like, bye. And then the second time it was a Comic-Con last year, and I went dressed in my gear and everything. Like full Ruby Roberts leather jacket, same as Spike and everything. And I purchased the meet and greet and the photo so that I could actually speak to him this time. And I was so nervous, and everybody was getting moved through so quickly. So I thought you only had like a tiny amount of time. And I ran in and I was like, I'm gonna just do what everybody does, but like this is really important to me, and you've like influenced everything that I do. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer is like the most important thing to me in the world. And look, I am a wrestler, and I was so embarrassed. I showed him my gear, and I went, look, because I've got a big R in my chest, and then I've got my name across my backside. I turned around and went, see, and just kept talking and shotgunned like all the information at him as quickly as possible. And he just went, yeah, man, that's really cool. Like, so you're like hitting each other, and there's people like right there, so you actually have to hit each other. And I was like, yeah, like you actually, yeah, we hit each other. And I'm like internally freaking out because like the love of my life has just asked me a question. And he spent like a few minutes talking to me, and he was so cool. Just like my wee brain was blown, and he was asking loads of questions about it and saying like, oh yeah, because like in the show we don't hit each other, it's all angles and stuff, so we just make it look good. He's like, that's so impressive that you guys have to like act and hit each other and run about and blow yourselves up and do this, and it's all live. And he's like, that's insane to me. And I was just like, and then we went for the photo, and I got to take my face mask off, and he was so nice, and he just went, well, don't you look fantastic without a face mask? And I'm just like, I was like, I don't think you realise you just made my entire life. But yeah, like, yeah, when I say I'm obsessed with this show, like, it's bad, man. But yeah, so all of that was the stuff that made me like invested in it. And I'm like, right, do you know what? If I was that invested in that and it mattered that much to me, then it will resonate with other people. And it's something I care about, so I know I can do that, and I can really do it well. So let's do that.
Awesome. I know. Just okay. I'm sure he was at. There was a Manchester Comic Con. I think no, not Manchester. I think it might have been Liverpool last month. Him and Charisma were both there. I think it was last month, and Seth Green's in Manchester next month. So it's kind of like, that's pretty cool.
So many Comic Cons, so little money, like, or not enough money, but you know what I mean, like.
With you and Spike, I've just paid out for my other half to get a photo with Jensen Ackles at
amazing.
At the Liverpool Comic Con in October. So yeah, that's just again, like I say, it's the cost of it. It's just like, but Ethan Suplee's at the Manchester one next month as well. So I was on them asking me if he'd ever seen the sailboat, but I was like, it's probably been asked that 1,000 times. I was like, just slap me or something. Like that.
You might get the eye roll.
I can mix up and ask me if if you'd seen the schooner, but I've probably still been asked that a million times. Yeah, the whole Buffy thing. Oh, I had something to say at one point. Right, yes, you mentioned working face, working heel.
Yes.
Does your moveset change? Because I've had this conversation with a few people about when they work face, they work heel. Some people change the moveset, some people don't. I know it's kind of like a bit of a split kind of thing.
Yeah, so the way that kind of yes, kind of no. So there's a lot of what I do remains the exact same because there's quite a lot of striking and brawling involved when I do what I do. That doesn't change. But the sort of in between bits, the other things, yeah. So when I'm heel, I like to slow things down and I like to be in control. So when I do that, it's a lot more holds. It's a lot more of me sort of forcing the other person down and keeping them on the ground and trying to keep them low so that I'm in the dominant position. Whereas when I'm face, I'm very much trying to attack the other person and stop them getting dominance. So I'm more aggressive with what I'm doing in the sense that I'm throwing myself at them more. I would do more sort of the moves like drop kicks, things where I'm throwing myself at the other person. I would generally do more because I'm on the offensive rather than trying to sort of just assert dominance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense because I think the best way somebody's explained it to me is when traditionally psychology wise, is obviously when you're working heel, you've got to be the dominant one. You've got to be like keeping them down, keeping them down, keeping them down, building up back that moment where the face gets to come back, and that's then when you pop up. You go aerial. You do the speed thing. Whereas heel, you don't want that pop. You're not looking for that pop. You're trying to give that pop to the other person at some point during the match. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. You're on the defensive as a face for majority until you, and then the crowd comes alive. You get your comeback.
You get that sort of moment like you get in the film where it's like all the heroes are down and out, and then they finally get that bit at the end and they beat the bad guy right at the very last minute.
Yeah, but it does seem to be a thing where I think everybody does it. Not everybody, but across the board, whether it be in WWE down to like your local promotion kind of thing, where you still get like the heels who are doing the aerial stuff, popping the crowd kind of thing, and it detracts. I think some people find it, or think it detracts away from the good guy. That's their moment. What you're doing.
I think it depends. I think there's a lot of different stories, and there's a lot of different ways to tell stories. And the way I always like to think about it is not every match is going to have the exact same psychology behind it. So for every different kind of wrestler, there's going to be a different way they tell their story, and there's a different way that they do it and how they use their body to do so. So like you've got, like in the sort of most basic sense of it, I would agree. But when you sort of look at the more layered, sort of nuanced matches, or you get like more nuanced stories where it can allow that heel to sort of come up and do that to almost match the babyface, or like almost sort of elevate the level of what's happening. I think sometimes it's warranted, not always. Sometimes it is just popping on both sides, and it's just that's all the way to heck. But sometimes I think when it's done properly, and I think that the story allows it, and that it's for a purpose, I think if it's done right, it can really, really elevate both performers and really force the sort of level of match up the way and really pop the crowd much higher at the end, sort of get like a bigger payoff. It just kind of has to, I think, be done the right way and be told the right way.
No, I fully agree. Like I say, I'm just kind of going on what other people have said, and obviously I'm just a fan.
That's just my opinion as well. Like there's so many different, everybody's got their own views and things, and there's so many different ways to look at things in wrestling as well. I always like to think there's no one right opinion, there's a million right opinions.
Exactly, that's it. I mean, I think across the board, again, it's what other people have sort of said. Just because it's worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and vice versa, kind of thing. Take bits off of what you think will work for you, try it. If it doesn't, try something else. Don't get stuck. In repeat, just like try it. If it don't work, move on. Try something else. Then try something else until you find something that does work. But that's me. It's the sort of, I think the best advice I've heard somebody give to somebody is just be totally open and try everything.
Give everything a try at least once. And like you said, like if it doesn't work that way, is there a way to make it work? Like, can we work around it? Can we find a different way into it? Like, how would you do that?
Exactly. Oh, right. I'm kind of sidebar again because we talked. You mentioned. No. So I'm kind of going back to the Buffy thing again as well, just purely because it's again somebody else I can talk to, kind of thing. Right. After you mentioned Angel, so you love Buffy. I presume you watched Angel.
Yes, all of it, many times.
Many times, awesome. Right, that's cool. So it wasn't just a one-off. Right, I'm going back to Buffy. You watched Angel, like not as many times, but on repeat.
Yeah.
Like the final episode. I'm going to be fair, this massive spoiler alert, but if you haven't watched it yet, screw you. You don't deserve not to have it spoiled. At the end of series 5, does that not just leave you fuming? Every time I watch,
every single time, like so much, and then it's never really properly dealt with either in the comics. Like it's just kind of left, like they just don't really talk about it. It's just like, oh yeah, there's this thing that happened that was in the past. And it's like what? Why was there suddenly a dragon? And like what? Like why? And they killed half the characters before the end, so like they weren't even in the final battle all at the end together. And like, oh my god, just the way that Wesley died as well. Like, so much rage.
It's like, where was the film? You could have made a banging 90 minutes of just a really good story, really good action.
it's not even like there isn't context for it. He did it with bloody Firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just glad to get something else. I know, right, whenever we watch Angel, my other always like, okay, I want to watch Angel, but I don't want that feeling of furiousness at the end of it again, kind of thing. It kind of puts, we're kind of like, do you want to watch it? No, I can't be doing with being angry. We'll watch Buffy instead.
I am very guilty of cutting it off before the last episode. So I love season 5. A bit controversial because I know a lot of people didn't like it because it was weird tonally and it was all up and down. But I loved it because it was literally like they went, what are all the best ideas that we've had that we're not going to get to use, and let's just do them. Like the fact they've got the Tale of Numero Cinco,
Yes.
like they have a whole ass wrestling episode, makes me so happy. I remember seeing that on the telly and just being like, this is amazing. There's a lucha wrestler. Oh my god! And then they had actual wrestling in the show, and I'm like, this is the wrestling superheroes. This is the best thing ever.
But no, I fully agree. I didn't actually realise 5 wasn't that well received because for me, series 4 is weak. I kind of skip 4 sometimes and be like, yeah, I don't need to watch 4. But 5 was banging. You know, I'd involved Harmony comes back into it. Obviously, Spike turns up.
Yeah.
You've got time. Anya turns into an angry Smurf. Not Anya, sorry. Red turns into the angry Smurf.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually had someone at a show recently come up to me and they were like, is the blue hair because of Valeria? And I was like, bonus points to you, my man. Bonus points to you. You win. I mean, you don't get a prize, but you win.
You get a Marvel no prize. There you go.
Yep.
Bosh. But yeah, that's right. I'm going to wrap it up after this. But we mentioned this on the socials. I asked you. I've stated series 3 is my favourite series of Buffy. I don't know if you agree. If there's another series that you prefer, or if series 3 is the best series, why is it the best series to you? I know why it is to me.
I think season 3 for me was the best series. I actually really enjoyed 6. Really enjoyed 6 because there was a lot of stuff that happened in that season that was very very in depth and very like emotional and suddenly very adult. So like I really enjoyed that. But 3 for me had some of the best characters and some of the best villains and some of the best jokes, just like hands down. With Doppelganger Land as well. So we got vampire lesbian Willow, which was just excellent. And the fact that they even made a nod to it where she's like, I think I'm kind of gay. And then a season later, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm gay. Like, I love this. But that, I love the mayor. The mayor was such a good bad guy and he was so funny and so dad-like that it just like I loved it. And I love the fact that they managed to incorporate all the different relationships, the fact that Faith was basically the exact antithesis to Buffy. It was like even the fact that they even did it with the outfits where they had the same outfit and just like opposing colors and stuff when they were in the fight where Buffy stabs her. Like there was so much about that season and the attention to detail that they put into it that it is just by far the best season, especially because it was followed up by season 4 and Riley is just the worst character.
He's up there with Connor. He's Buffy's Connor for me. I hated Connor in Angel, and Riley.
He's human cardboard. He's just like he is the persona of the nails on the chalkboard
Well, I don't know what other sort of stuff you're watching, but sidebar. But I watched Titans on Netflix.
Not seen it yet.
Right. Well, I didn't realise in the last series that's on their series 3, Scarecrow's in it. But I was really impressed with the guy who plays Scarecrow. I thought, this guy's fucking awesome. He's banging. He's got like a beard for most of it and longer hair. IMDb'd him. I was like, it's Connor from freaking Angel. Are you kidding me? I was like, all right, fair enough. You know, it's
Vincent Carthriser.
Yeah,
he looks like, different now, to be fair. Like with the facial hair and everything, he looks hefty different.
I felt bad for besmirching Connor. I was just like, it must have just been the character. He's a good actor. He was young. Know any better? We'll write it off.
Yeah, watching it back, season 4 was weird, man. Like the writing was odd. You could kind of tell that they were deliberately screwing over the Cordelia character. Like basically Charisma Carpenter got pregnant and was told she wasn't allowed to and was like, I'm doing this, so what are you going to do about it? And he went, oh well, this. And that happened, and it's like, why, man? Just why? Why would you write? Why? Like, the fact that he's like born, he's 2 days old or something, and then gets kidnapped, comes back, he's 18, and suddenly that's okay. It's like, you were his stepmom 2 days ago. Like, no, just like, no.
There's nothing redeeming about it. Nothing sort of likable in any way, shape, or form.
It's so annoying because the actress, Gina, what's her face, that plays all of the words have just gone out of my brain. Gina Torres, who plays Jasmine, is such a good actress. Like, such a good actress. And I was so excited about the fact she was going to be in it. And then, like, the season was just crap. Even the way that they go about fixing the problem at the end of the season is just like, are you joking? Like, what?
No, but it was kind of cool because I was saying with you, obviously, I was a massive Firefly fan. That got cancelled, so obviously everybody from Firefly kind of vetoed over into Buffy and Angel. Obviously, Adam Baldwin in series 5, Gina Torres in series 4, Nathan Fillion in series 7.
Yes.
Caleb was just like, Jesus. I love Nathan Fillion, but I despise that character. He just did such a good job.
He is one of my favourite actors because of that role. Because that was, I saw Firefly after Buffy, so I was introduced to it after the fact. So that was my first introduction to Nathan Fillion, and I hated that character because, like I said, when I was younger, I was obsessed with like the strong women. So he was obviously literally written to be the opposite of Buffy, and that was just the exact everything that I hated. Especially when I was that age and I was very like righteous about it and like didn't see shades of grey. It was just like, that's it. Ugh, don't like that. And then the next thing I saw him in was like Firefly, and then I saw him in some other stuff, and I was like, in Castle as well. I ended up being really into the TV show Castle. I was like, this guy's amazing and he's funny. That like he can do no wrong. And then he was also in Santa Clara Diet. I can't say that properly. Comes out so funny because of the Scottish accent. Santa Clarita Diet.
Heard of it. I'm a massive zombie snob. I refuse to watch it. Based on my
It's crap zombies, not good zombies. So funny though. If you just try and ignore the zombie part, which I know sounds mental, if you just kind of look at it as a weird surreal situation where they've caught a disease, it's funny as hell. But yeah, just you kind of look at it as real zombies, man. It's just not. It's not it.
And the Rookie as well, I would highly recommend for a Nathan Fillion fix. He's awesome.
My TikTok insists on showing me the scene where the band is playing and he's trying to book somebody in a car and they're singing about him being a hot cop. That is my whole TikTok right now.
Well, just a quick question. The Giles, obviously, when you're young, Giles is the older guy, he's the librarian. Mm-hmm. As you get older, you kind of look at him thinking, he's pretty cool, as Giles, actually. You know, when he sat there playing behind him, like, yeah, this guy's freaking awesome.
It's one of those things, actually. See, watching the show so much over such a long period of time, because we're now like 20 plus years. It's weird because I grew up watching it and then I watched it again as a slightly more grown up and saw it in a completely different way. And then every time I've sort of watched it after a period of time, it hits completely different because you're suddenly identifying with completely different characters. And it's one of the things that really intrigues me about watching it over and over again. And Giles is one of those characters where when you're younger, yeah, you see him as sort of the authoritarian, the dad. But then as you watch it, you sort of realize that he's this whole multifaceted person, and you pick up on the episodes where he's Ripper, or like in Band Candy where he goes back to being his old reckless self, or when you get wee glimmers in his past, and you can sort of appreciate that he's a whole ass person and why he's so frustrated with everybody and constantly taking his glasses off so he can't see what they're doing. Like
making the cluck cluck noise with his mouth.
Yes, or just the kind of forehead rub. This iconic forehead rub.
Continue the song for ages, but I will let you go. I will say, obviously, thank you so much for talking. Obviously, the wrestling is awesome, smashing it. Hopefully, we do see you down, venturing out, whether it be Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester. Leeds even. I've got a lot of the Scottish peeps coming down to Leeds as well sometimes. So
Yeah.
If any of them got space in the car, jump in, come down, check it out down here. And do you want to plug your socials and get your stuff? I'll do the merch and stuff in the description, but if you want to plug your socials.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, so Twitter, Ruby Roberts, BBS. Also the same with Instagram. I'm terrible, I always forget these. Instagram is Ruby Roberts _BBS, and Facebook is just Ruby Roberts, and TikTok is Ruby Roberts 0. Oh, and it's Ruby spelled RUBI.
Yes, with an I, not with a Y.
I am awesome.
And no, thank you seriously so much. I know I've kind of
Thank you for
sidebar. It wasn't all about the wrestling, but I think to appreciate the bitch slayer, you've got to appreciate what goes into it. And it's just nice to talk other stuff as well, because it helps understand the character.
It's really nice to get to talk to somebody who's as big a fan sort of thing, or as close to being as big a fan as me as we're going to get.
Before I go, quick shout out is I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yes.
He does a podcast show, but it's on YouTube as well, called Inside of You.
Okay.
James Masters episode, the first time James Masters is on there, give it a watch. It's an hour's worth of just insightfulness and James awesomeness.
I will do that. I will Google that tonight.
Rosenbaum's a very likable guy. I think Chris Carpenter's been on there as well, and a few of the other guys. So yes, Inside of You, Michael Rosenbaum. That's a freebie. Go and enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Always, and thank you for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. We will see you again very soon, and we will, enjoy and keep your eyes peeled for future guest announcements.